Hey, welcome, jerks. Bukaki today. Oh, Bukhenik. We got the dream team. The trifecta is here tonight. I put this on the screen because I just want to make sure it gets mentioned tonight. What a clown show. Sue O'Connell, good job on you. Let's bring up the dream team. They might want to say something about it. Mazza Media, what's going on?
Hey, Mike, good evening. I'm ready to go. It could be spicy Mazza tonight. Could be spicy Mazza tonight in the house. So I might be ready to go on a tangent tonight or a nice rant. So we'll see.
And we also got attorney Bederow, who's phrasing, coining new phrases like all the time. People are quoting some of them. There was a new one I heard today. Owns real estate in Wendy World.
Oh. Hey, if the shoe fits, the shoe fits.
So where do we even start tonight?
Well, we start off with a big free Karen raid because that's what this is all about, is freeing Karen Reid. And you got these people today, Lally and Yuri. There's like a goofy wrestling tag team from the mid 90s when WWF wasn't doing too well in the ratings out there. This is I didn't realize Microdots wrote almost a similar post that I wrote today, but I saw it just an hour ago after I had made a similar mention. And when they showed Karen Reid's vehicle being towed, I was sitting there. I'm like, this might be a chance for them to show the back of that tail light. Let's see. And then it never happens. It never happens. And Adam Lally just up there with his misdirection, trying to make a case before the jury that, like, oh, look, there's her vehicle being towed from Dighton to Canton. The vehicle was in Dighton and got taken 46 minutes to Canton, not to a state police location, but to the Sally Port at the Canton Police Department. This is absolutely, unequivocally, the most shady case that I may have ever heard of in my entire life. And I've heard some before, but this is, I mean, anybody that's out there still to this day, with each passing day of this trial, if you still believe Karen Reid's guilty, then you're just out of your mind. I mean, you're either a troll or you're out of your mind, because this Adam Lally today, of all the footage that is available across the state, even when that vehicle was being towed, they had no footage to display of the back of that vehicle to show that taillight. And it was an absolute, I just saw it. I'm like, they're not going to show the back of this, are they? They're not going to show the back of this vehicle, are they? And they didn't. And I just sat there and I waited and waited and waited, and they didn't do it. It's just misdirection. It's just to say, Karen did it. She did it. Look, she hit him. That's it. Isn't this tragic? And she did it. Look. And it's just, no, I'm not buying it. Nobody's buying it. This prosecutor, Adam Lally, Turtle Boy said it today. I hate Adam Lally. And I said to myself, 100 on that, because this guy today has enraged me and set me off to the point where I'm literally making more regular posts about this guy, blasting him in some way, shape, or form now than I ever have before. It's just, he gets up there and it's just, he's playing the cover up story. And every single time he tries, his whole point is, and you can see it, this is evident that you're a good honest cop, right? And you've done multiple cases, right? And you've done the stuff like this before, haven't you, Yuri? And it's clear as day that Karen's guilty. It's like, this guy is a clown. And Yuri sits up there all comfortable today. Literally, when Auntie Bev is giving jury instructions, he's sitting there shaking his head like, yeah, yeah, that's right, jury. He's like looking at the jury, like shaking his head, nodding agreeingly, like he's the sidekick for the judge. And I'm sitting there like, dude, you ain't gonna be this comfortable when our man, Alan Jackson, in the Bukkake is going to hit the fan when you deal with Alan Jackson. And it's just, he's another case of someone that's been on the stand and they're all comfortable and they're all calm when Adam Lally is talking to them. But as soon as the cross examination starts and the heat gets turned up, he's going to be panicking. And then his buddy Adam Lally is going to try to play, throw in the towel like he always does, with 100 objections. Objection, 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 objection. They should make a song called Objection. That song in the 80s, "You Are My Obsession." They just change that to I have an objection, and that's basically it. This is a clown show. It's an absolute fraud of a case. This trial's gone on way too long. Adam Lally is wasting everybody's time. And I mean, I was intrigued. I was honestly more intrigued by his case Lally the past 2 days more so because he is showing some pictures that are relevant to the case. But then again, they show all this taillight. And I think I said it last night. You have pictures of taillight when it's been taken care of, by the cops taking the pictures or taken care of when they rig some of it. And then you don't have any pictures in the snow that match that up. I guess that was kind of intriguing to kind of see some of this stuff. But again, here's the vehicle leaving, and there's Karen exiting, and okay, what's your point, Lally? Yeah, she exited the vehicle. There's snow, and then okay, it's towed away. You notice that the taillight and Sean McDonough, if you're listening, you know this more than anybody. The taillight is on when it's being towed away. It is intact when it is being towed away. And then they show it, the next picture. Oh, here it is being towed from the Dighton police up to Canton. And they don't show any pictures of the taillight at all in that particular picture. It's a nice front, convenient head-on shot. And then as soon as it starts to get near the side, let's move on to the next slide. Blatant attempt at misdirection. And yes, I am spitting. I told Spicy Mazda was promised tonight. I had a rant. And then the image cuts. And then, here we are now. We're in Sallyport. Here we are now in Sallyport. And here's the vehicle. And for some reason, that old car, police car, is to the left in one video or photo, and then the right in the other. Is some of the footage backwards? What's going on here? I don't know. But then you got these cops in the Sallyport, and all they were missing was a sped up video with Benny Hill music when they were putting that taillight tape. It was the most ridiculous thing. I mean, it looked like a chair that got knocked down by a very gentle wind when a hurricane was promised, and then someone made a meme out of it and wrote, "We will rebuild." I mean, you're going to really put this thing in the Sallyport and tape it off. If these guys hadn't already contaminated the crime scene as it was by the time the vehicle was put in there, these people have absolutely no case against Karen Reed. She is absolutely innocent. She did not hit John O'Keefe. She did not kill John O'Keefe. Karen Reed has nothing to do with this. John O'Keefe was murdered. He was murdered, more probable than not, by people that were inside that house and left for dead on the front lawn. And I know that there's a Google search out there because, they kind of left him on the front lawn to die in the cold. And there was a Google search at 2:27 in the morning that said, Haas Long to die in cold. Karen Reed's innocent. These people will not BS us any longer. Alan Jackson is going to deliver against Yuri when he goes head to head with that man, and they're going down. And I'm all set. That's my rant for the big. I might have another rant planned too. We'll see. That's my opening rant.
I loved it. It was so unbelievable to see people celebrating today without seeing the Yuri cross, which is coming. Mr. Bederow, Attorney Bederow, what do you want to say tonight to kick it off?
The first thing I want to say is I think Obsession, that's the 80s one-hit wonder Animation, I believe.
You know that.
I do know that. I'm kind of an 80s aficionado.
I love 80s music. I
used to play Vice City. So Grand Theft Auto Vice City I used to play. So that's how I know these 80s songs. So
you can start with Bukhenik, but that wasn't the big part of the day. I wouldn't fall for the cheese. That guy was up there for about a couple hours, maybe 3 hours. And if you take a step back and think about what he said in terms of knowledge about anything, he offered nothing. Okay. What he did was explain how he interpreted a bunch of videos. That's what he did. He gave some medical opinion for which he's not really qualified to do. He established, you should tip your hat to them, that Karen Reed had a lot of drinks. That's not exactly new information, and frankly, doesn't really matter too much. So, but what he did, and will be obvious, is he's the Proctor of the case. Now it's obvious that they're not going to call Proctor, and if there's a lot of tells, if you hear him saying, we did this, not I did this, Proctor did that, that'll come on cross. But what he didn't do, the one time he had a chance to be a detective and go detect something, he didn't do it. And that's when the one thing that I thought would be interesting was when he went to the house to interview Karen Reed, and he talked to her, but he never asked her about the car or the taillight or anything like that. And if you believe what he's saying, and she was so willing to talk, it might have been a good time for him, or Proctor, as it were, to ask about that. And they apparently didn't. The other thing that these two stellar investigators never did, Mazza talked about no video of the right taillight at the important time as they're pulling it into the sally port, as they're doing this. Why didn't somebody go take their iPhone? I mean, we know the cops took the 1840 Polaroids at the original crime scene to take some blurry pictures of the snow and nothing else. Why didn't they take a picture of this dramatically shattered taillight and you want to do it? Take a picture, have the other cop stand next to it. You want to get real cheesy, hold a newspaper next to it so you know exactly the date and time, whatever it is. They didn't do it. So the other thing they did was introduce video, which, I mean, I'm not an eagle-eyed, expert. I can't tell, but I think I know what I saw. And what I think I saw was that the majority of the taillight was in place. And I think I know that because of what happened in the morning, which to me is the much more significant part of the day in terms of why this case will go belly up and why Bukhenik, or whatever his name is really not the significant one. It's Proctor. It's always been about Proctor. It always will. But what you saw today gave the cover-up theory legs that will never go away, no matter what. It doesn't matter anymore what the DA does to try to establish this. When you heard today through whatever her name was, Valier, I think, who, honest witness, just an honest woman reporting whatever she's reporting. But the bottom line is, you'd have to believe that Proctor it went back each time, and it's like each time he came back with a bigger rock, like you sent them on a mission, and is that big enough? And he keeps coming back every day with bigger glass, and bigger glass. And so you have to ask yourself, why didn't he find it the first 4 times? But more importantly, we heard about this really important so-called devastating search on the evening of the 29th. And this was a really organized thing, as I think his name was O'Hara told you. We did a grid search. We're shoulder to shoulder. We knew exactly what we were looking for. And so the real question is, how the hell did they miss all of this? How did that happen? I mean, we're talking large pieces of glass, all of which gets found by Proctor. Nothing about Bukhenik. Now, he'll be asked about it. You can be sure on cross. Were you there? Did you see what Proctor did? Did you, are you endorsing all of this, what appears to be nonsense? And so you'll have to wait and see. But the bottom line is, I don't think there's anyone who would think for a second that it's possible that they could have done a professional search, turned up those pieces of glass at night. They were told to delay, as you know. It came from Tully, who's Proctor's guy. That little pieces of glass shows up, and then over the course of the next several weeks or a couple of weeks, whatever it is, all of this large glass turns up because Proctor found it. So Proctor is everything. And then you see later in the day, the stuff about the glass that's actually not embedded, even though you were told it was embedded. And then after all of that, what do you find out? It's actually not really anything. It's another kind of dud with their so-called forensic evidence. And then you're left with Bukhenik, who, again, didn't really establish much. So I wouldn't, just because he appears to be credible, he does, and he can walk you through video and do other things. He didn't move the needle that much. What did he really say that was anything new other than, we towed the car and there it is, and we brought it in the Sally port, there it is. We interviewed her and, whatever. She was drinking at the bar. That's all on video.
The drinks is the only thing new that seemed to kind of do, like going through the number of drinks and
the drinks, though.
His view of that video, which still, like, how does he really know? Like, how does he know it wasn't water or, who knows?
Again, far be it for me to tell these guys how to do what they're doing, but, that's objectionable. Having a witness tell you what the video shows is frankly not proper. That's the kind of thing that if you object in most courts, that's going to be sustained because the video shows what it shows. And who is this guy to tell you what's in the glass, what she's drinking? The jury can draw their own conclusions. You play the video, you can point out certain things, but when you start editorializing it, it's not proper. But the bottom line is, he didn't really do much to move the case forward. And it came after you learned that the glass is not really important, as it turns out. And to me, again, the most devastating part of the day were these large pieces of glass, which were not discovered by the original search in a dusting of snow, not in the, sophisticated search later. And then you have to wonder, how did Proctor miss it the first 4 times and each day get a bigger one? So much so that by the end of this performance, they basically reconstructed the whole light except for a small piece. And, again, I don't know why Lally puts the witnesses in the order he does, because the last thing I'd want to do is show the jury that Proctor found what appears to be 90% of the light. And then later on, when you call, the proxy witness, because you're too weak to call Proctor, you're showing the car, whether it's being towed, whether it's the 5 a.m. video, whether it's in the Sally Port, where there's no way, at least as far as I can tell, and I assume what everyone else with 2 working eyes can tell, there's no way that light was as empty or broken as it appeared when they reconstructed it. And so the only conclusion you're left with is, well, how did it break and when? And then you start thinking about, well, Proctor found it, and here we are. So I don't think they did much today other than establish that she had been drinking.
We have some questions came in. This one is about the Commonwealth basically turning Bukhenik into a medical examiner. This person's very mad about it. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't know if mad is the right word. I mean, it's silly. The guy's not a doctor. He's not in any position to be giving an opinion in terms of medically what's happening. But it also tells you they're just trying to fill space and time. Well, why are you asking a responding sergeant or whatever his rank was about, when you got to the hospital, what injuries did you observe? I mean, this is just classic Lally. There's so much excess nonsense. You know that John O'Keefe was dead. You know that he's got scratches on the arm. You know he's got a big gash on the back of his head. You know his hands have, some kind of injury. You know he's got a nose injury. You know his eyes are swollen out. So why do we need to ask again and again each witness to offer that? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't serve any purpose, and he shouldn't have been doing it. So I agree with the comment, but I mean, to me, it's just more of an eye roll. I don't think it's a big deal. It's just a waste of time, and he's not the right witness to talk about this. Call the medical examiner.
Yeah, where's the medical examiner? When's that coming? Nicole is asking about job titles. Yuri changed Proctor's job title from lead investigator to case manager.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it reeks of the games they play. Yeah, you cross-examine what's your official title, what's Proctor's title, and you're going to ask him, why did you keep saying we? I want to know what you did. I want to know what Proctor did. Stop saying we. And whatever Proctor did you see him do it? And I would be crossing this guy. Were you there on February 11th when Proctor found this piece of glass? Did you see that? Were you searching too? Tell us what you saw. Were you there the next day, the next time, all of that? And so, yeah, the titles that they've changed, clearly the jury, I mean, I don't know if they can pick up on this yet, but anybody who's watching the case can clearly tell at this point, they're not calling him, which is pathetic. I understand it in the sense that he's a disaster. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I can't fathom that you would bring this case and not call Proctor. I mean, if you think you can't call him and everything else that's going on, I've got better advice for you. You should punt and not try the case. I mean, this is embarrassing beyond belief.
We got a bunch of questions about the Sally Port. Here's one about they think that there was some editing and splicing of that Sally Port. It looked like people were jumping around. There's another one here too. Where is that one? Right here about the snow in the Sally Port.
Yeah,
it was already there, and kind of the way the car even got into the Sally Port. Like, what are your comments on all of that about the video?
I mean, look, they didn't object to it, so they let it in. So I'm going to assume they had a reason, and they could have made a stink about it if they wanted to try to keep it out because it's just not reliable evidence. And with the video, if it's not a fair and accurate depiction of what it is, there is a basis to keep it from coming into evidence. But I'm going to assume that they have a plan and don't object to that kind of video coming in. And could there be cross-examination on it with this guy? Maybe. And then is there other video? We know that there's been all this talk about when Higgins allegedly was in the Sally Port later, this missing time where the car could have been tampered with. So I suspect that they're not opposed to this kind of mystery and unreliability with respect to Sally Port video. And the bottom line is it doesn't hurt them because you don't see the taillight match what they need it to match. And to me, the other damning thing you don't see in the Sally Port video are the cops walk up to it and point at it and take pictures. That would have been the most devastating evidence in the whole case from their perspective if they literally went over there and showed that we took pictures in live time at this time. It would end all this discussion about what did the tail light look like at what time. And they didn't do it. Why? I mean, you can draw your own conclusion why, because it doesn't fit the way that they want you to think it looks now. And so 100%. I think they look foolish, they look devious, and they look pathetic when they're not calling Proctor. And the defense, I mean, at this point, you have to call him and let him try to take the fifth if that's what he wants to do. But I don't know how at this point you don't haul him up there unless his lawyer tries to wave the white flag in advance and say, I'm letting everyone know he's going to take the fifth on anything substantive, at which point I think the judge would say, we're not going through this charade and he's just going to disappear. And then the jury will understand, I assume, what's going on, even though they're not supposed to be told. But I would aggressively, I think a lot of the cross-examination of Bukhenik is going to be Proctor.
Yeah,
Proctor.
Right.
It's all it's going to be.
I mean, they're going to ask him, I guarantee you, about the emails, right? Or the text messages, the nudes. Did you get the message about the nudes? I wonder if they'll ask him that, right?
Well, that's probably not proper because, I mean, he doesn't theoretically have firsthand knowledge of that. They weren't addressed to him. I don't think
they weren't. Okay. They were his other friends.
You're not going to get the messages through
Bukhenik.
Right.
Bukhenik, sorry. Yeah,
whatever.
Call him Yuri. We'll be safe. We'll be nice. Yuri.
Right. So I don't think you're going to get that. But what you are going to get is just you and Proctor are attached at the hip. And there were other times, who wrote the statement of this witness interview? Proctor. Were you there when Jennifer McKay was interviewed? Yeah. Who recorded that? Proctor. Who did this? Everything. Proctor. And you're just going to remind the jury, why are they calling this guy to navigate video? Call the main guy. And it's clear at this point they're not going to do it. I think it's obvious. They have no intent on calling him.
What about the defense? You've said they may not need to if they can get that text, about the nudes into play some other way. What do you think? Like, if you had to bet, are they going to call Proctor? If you had to bet right now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what they know. I mean, again, there's been nothing to suggest that he's going to wave the white flag and just say, I'm taking the fifth and ruin my career and humiliate myself in the news, but not in front of the jury. So if they know what he's going to do, then they may have already planned on moving ahead without him. But if it's not clear what he intends to do, then I'd haul him up there and go at him. And if he wants to have his lawyer interject and kind of do what Higgins did, but with a little more risk, let him do it. I mean, how do you not go at this guy about those ridiculous searches where he keeps finding taillight pieces? How do you not just hit him with the text? And yeah, you can do it through the friend. The difference with the friends, though, is they can't speak to Proctor's state of mind. So you can introduce the messages through them, but you can't attack them about what's going on with Proctor. Only Proctor can be grilled about, you wished her dead because that was the easy way out. And, you did this and you said Albert was okay because you had already spoken to them and you're friends with these people and you went to their wedding and all of that. That's not coming out unless you do it through Proctor.
Excellent. Maz, do you have anything on anything we just discussed?
Well, I want to transition to Ashley Valier for a second. It was one of the notable things that I picked up on, and it was picked up on by WBZ News at noon today.
Little
Um,
difficult. I know what you're going to say.
yeah, she doesn't know what Proctor did with John O'Keefe's orange shirt and gray long sleeve shirt between the dates of January 29th and March 14th. That was very notable to me. That that where was this shirt? Where was it? That it's just things like that. The chain of custody, as we've talked about before on this show, it just seems like a lot of people that should know don't know.
Well,
And go ahead, Mark.
let me. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
go
going to
ahead.
say. I mean, obviously, the people in the lab, and I get what Yannetti was doing. They can only know from when they get it. So what he's establishing is whatever happened before you got it, you can't say. And let's assume
Yeah,
that the people in the lab are honest, responsible people, and from that point on, there's a
yeah,
solid chain of custody.
that's right.
But as Yannetti was very, very capably establishing today, if you're relying on where it came from and it came from Proctor and you didn't even get it until March or whatever it was, and he's collecting glass throughout February and keeping it to himself, then the chain of custody as a whole is completely destroyed. It's
Yeah,
unreliable, and the corrupt cop, it all comes back to him. I mean, this couldn't be playing any better into their hands with what their theory was about the cover up. And I thought the real takeaway from that stuff through her today was that no matter what the prosecution does at this point, they're never going to eviscerate the cover up. It's always going to be there. What did Proctor do for all that time? Why did he find that glass? Why didn't he turn it in? Why didn't he turn in the shirt? If he
right.
had access to the shirt for all that time, who's to say he didn't sprinkle or embed
That's
some
right.
glass in there?
That's
It
right.
all and it's all tainted. So all of the evidence that would theoretically harm Karen Reed in the form of glass and taillight and clothes, it's
Tainted.
all, I don't want to say it's literally useless, but it's pretty damn close.
How
Whatever.
long should it be before clothing like that? And your expert opinion, Mark. You'd know more about this than most of us. January 29th to March 14th. Before they get their hands on it in the lab. Why? What is the typical time frame have you ever seen for that to be played? Is it usually
Uh,
that long? Is it shorter? Is it
no,
longer?
no. When the cops recover evidence that has, potentially biological material, whether it's DNA, blood, or anything, they certainly what they would do in New York City, they call the crime scene unit. These are specialists in dealing with evidence like that. They voucher it properly in the right, the right kind of bag and seal it and whatever. And it's at the lab in a day or
That's my
two.
point. Yep, that's
No,
exactly right.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you what it isn't. It doesn't
yeah,
sit in it.
yeah,
God knows where from January 29th to March 14th. That is unheard of. It's
yeah.
ridiculous. It's scandalous, and you can be sure they'll make a big deal out of that about the corruption that lies with Proctor. He is. I mean, we knew he was a disaster. After hearing today what was going on, it's worse. I mean, he's the guy's a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
he is, and he's not inexperienced, so it's hard to say he's just
A
incompetent.
rookie, yeah.
I mean, you can't do 5 searches in a row and each day find an
Find more.
individual or a couple of pieces of glass. It
That's
just
right.
begs, what are you doing all this
Yeah.
time?
What
Makes
is he
no
doing?
sense.
They closed the crime scene in a matter of a certain amount of hours, and then all of a sudden it's Berkowitz is driving by. Oh, look, there's taillight right over there.
Oh,
When you
God,
cleared
they
the
didn't
crime
even get
scene
to that.
originally, you didn't
You didn't even
find
get
this
to
stuff.
that. That's the
Yeah.
missing piece of glass. There's still
Yeah.
the Berkowitz mystery piece.
Oh
It's
my
Chief
goodness.
Wiggum.
it,
Speaking
it's
of Berkowitz, we don't know if he's going to show up. We don't know if Proctor's going to show up. Something that just came out apparently. Mark, Andrea, I think he's talking about Andrea Burkhart, who's an attorney as well, following the case. She's got a great following. She just came on the show. She said the defense is seeking a missing witness instruction to the jury. What could
well,
that mean? What would that mean?
you potentially could do that with Berkowitz, and you could potentially do it with Proctor. For Berkowitz, there's already testimony that, in theory, I think it was from Lank, about 6 months ago, it feels like, or one of them said that, Berkowitz found this piece of glass. So he's a witness who ought to be friendly to the prosecution. Clearly, he's a police officer. He ought to have testimony that is favorable to them. Clearly, I found a piece of broken taillight, which presumably matches her car. That ought to be favorable. And he's not being called by them, and there's no real explanation. Now, again, if you could establish that he's terminally ill and this and that, you might get around that. But there's been no evidence of that yet. Usually you would have to establish that. We can't call him because of this. So I would assume that they would seek a missing witness charge for him, at which point the jury would be instructed when there's jury instructions at the end of the case, that if there's a missing witness charge, that the jury could draw what's called an adverse inference against the DA, that this is a witness who ought to be helping them. And you can hold that against them and think the exact opposite, that they're not calling him because something's off here. And certainly with Proctor, you could make the exact same argument. Here's a guy who found, 800 pieces of evidence. Now, one of the ways that they would try to defeat that charge for Proctor, I don't think it would work, is if the testimony would arguably be duplicitous or duplicative. You don't have to call, even though Lally does this, 37 witnesses to say the same thing. But I don't think it would be duplicative because, first of all, you haven't even heard across yet of Bukhenik saying that he saw what Proctor did, everything. Okay, so yeah, if these people don't testify, the defense absolutely would seek missing witnesses against them. And the idea, particularly of Proctor, would just be devastating beyond belief. And if they don't call him, and there's no Fifth Amendment issue that's like put out there, not in the presence of the jury, by the way, that would never be done. This initial discussion about what he's going to do. If they just don't call him, then they're going to get clubbed over the head in summation again and again for an hour about not calling him. So I don't know what this guy intends to do. When we started talking about this weeks ago, I told you I think he absolutely should take the fifth and look out for himself and not worry about the case. I think he's screwed either way. I think the DA is damned if they do, damned if they don't. I think his career is over. And his biggest concern ought to be not going to federal prison at this point. And the best way to do that is, shut your pie hole.
Another question, thoughts about what Karen and defense team were huddled and happy about after the tow video?
Well, I'm certainly not privy to what they're talking about in their privileged communications, but there's video of what appears to be the majority of her taillight, which does not look like what we saw today, that Proctor found the taillight. And if you can't negotiate those two things, then I think it's pretty obvious.
Must dismiss. Yeah.
That it's over. Right.
That's
So I think that they're presumably laughing at Lally, wait for it, leading with his chin again. I mean, look, are they going to establish that, zoom in on the video and show that the taillight fits with their theory? No. The way they would have done that is they would have taken pictures in real time, at the house in, Dighton, I guess. They would have taken a picture there. They would have taken pictures before it went on the tow truck. They would have taken pictures before it went in the Sally port, and they would have established what they're incapable of doing. It's called chains of custody, dummies. That's what you do. And they don't do it. These people are a joke.
Leading with his chin again. Be a detective and detect something. These are the phrases that people love on the show.
That's
now.
From my original boss in the Manhattan DA's office. Detective, go detect something.
Detect something.
And they don't.
Classic. We had some more questions coming in. Here's another one. Karen mouthed to her parents today, no Proctor ever. And other people are asking whether Bev could exclude Proctor. You said duplicative. If it's duplicative, is that?
No, she can't exclude him unless all the lawyers are aware that Proctor's counsel has made it clear that, my client, if called to say anything at all substantively in this case, will assert his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, and the judge could make an inquiry. And, you know, he said, I mean, you might learn something. I'm under federal investigation, and I don't want to talk about anything. Not, you know, normally it's question by question, but if his position is anything I say could be incriminating, if it's clear that he's going to assert his Fifth Amendment right literally across the board, then I think in that situation, the judge would say, I'm not wasting, you know, an hour having this hearing and going question by question when he's telling me what he's going to do. In that situation, he could be excused, if you will, and not appear. When she says no Proctor ever, I mean, look, I don't know what that means, if she's talking about the DA's not calling him, or we're not because we can't, or whether he's taking the Fifth. I don't know. But the reality is this: even if he does take the Fifth and the defense is technically not supposed to, you know, say anything, they have done a brilliant job from the jump in talking about Proctor is the corrupt one. He's the bad guy here. And we've established how important he is. And they'll do that again through Bukhenik. And then the DA doesn't call him, you know, whether they mention it or not. I think it would be naive for anyone to think that the jury is not looking around and saying, where the hell is this guy? What's going on here? Something's off. Is he in trouble? Is he hiding? I mean, they're going to be told not to speculate, but I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They're going to speculate.
I think they're speculating about this too. When are they going to call the medical examiner?
He's not avoiding. If he doesn't call the medical examiner, the case will be dismissed at the end of their case. That's what would that motion that defendants make. If they don't do that, the case will be over. The other interesting thing is this: they haven't even established that a crime has occurred. I mean, at this point, it's unclear. I'm going strictly on the evidence of trial, whether it's unclear how John O'Keefe died. I mean, he could have, based on this evidence, dropped dead in the snow, tripped and fallen, hit by a car, hit by a plow, beaten up inside the house. But there's no actual evidence, literally, of anything. And, you know, there's no forensic evidence that links him to the car. We learned that the other day. His drinking glass that he apparently had, that kind of fell flat today with the glass on the car. So there's no real evidence other than, you know, some particles that may have been found on his clothes. But again, those are clothes that were taken by Proctor and held without being properly secured for a month and a half. And he's the one who handed the clothes directly to the lab people. So there's no chain of custody. There's no integrity. How do you know? I mean, how do you, and I'm sure Yuri will be asked this, you know, do you know what happened with the clothes, where they were? And if Proctor had them, how could Yuri know, by the way? And this is what an effective cross-examination would do. Where was it? And how do you know? And try to separate him and Proctor and make it clear to the jury, you need Proctor, whether it relates to the taillight pieces, the taking of the clothes, the taking of the statements of witnesses, all these kinds of things. They are going to try to drive a wedge between the two of them and say, where is Proctor?
What do you think, Mazza?
Well, I just think he has a lot to answer for, you know, and the fact that he's not going to be called is absurd because, you know, what are you doing with these clothes for this amount of time? It's absolutely shady. It's suspicious. It needs to be answered to. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'll go back to you on this, Mark. You know, should it just be grounds for the case to be dismissed? I mean, they can't properly seal evidence. You know, they got all this stuff in Stop and Shop bags, taillight and solo cups. It's just, this is the most shoddy crime scene investigation or whatever you want to call it that I think we've ever seen. I mean, it's as bad as you can get. It's bush league. You'd think that a bunch of kindergartners were sent to go clean up this thing the way they did. Oh, you're just going to hold on to these shirts? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's no longer admissible as evidence if it is in any way, shape, or form is something that counts against Karen.
Look, I have never seen anything like this. Real quickly, absolutely Morgenthau, not Vance, whoever asked about my time in the Manhattan DA's office. Big difference. Robert Morgenthau. But anyway, yeah, this trial, just everything you just said is astounding. I mean, none of us have ever seen anything like this. This is a huge case. They knew this from the jump. I mean, it's a dead police officer on the lawn of another police officer under, at a minimum, suspicious circumstances. They knew this was going to be the biggest case that, you know, they're the type of biggest case that they're ever going to have. And they just gave it to this guy. They didn't do anything. They don't appear concerned about the cops. And the real scary thing is, you know, a lot of times when you're a prosecutor, you get cops who, you know, not every cop is the best, the same way not every DA is the best, not every lawyer is the best. You kind of have to go to the dance with who you go with. But they knew everything that you're learning now, that Proctor claimed he recovered the glass in the way he did, that he held on to the shirt and the other evidence for 6 weeks, that he sent these text messages, which are just a disaster, that, you know, there were accident reconstruction people. I mean, you could go on with all these problems. And these people had no problem looking at each other and said, we're ready for trial. Let's go. I mean, it's disgraceful. And whether they think she hit him or not, you can't do this to someone. You can't go forward and try a case where there's just no chance of winning. And you morally and ethically, they have to know that they can't prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. And it doesn't matter what a bunch of yahoos on Twitter say about what's going on or what's happening. There is so much reasonable doubt here that they're insulting the jurors' intelligence to think that they don't see what's going on here. And when you have, you know, the guy today, that talk show host who lives on Wendy World, saying, oh my God, the jurors are hating this. And, you know, Jackson and Karen Reed are talking and they look concerned and the jury sees it and all this. Who is this guy and what is he talking about? He sounds just like a complete moron who's never been in a courtroom in his life, has no idea what he's talking about. And, you know, the trial gets governed by evidence, not the lawyer and client talking, or, you know, oh my God, she smiled today. Yeah. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
This guy got kicked out of Boston radio. That's what I'm going to say about him. And he's got a lot of scandals too. He doesn't seem to like women. He's got a lot of women scandals, if you know what I mean. He's like Grant. He's got the same issues that Grant has, harassment, you know. Speaking of the crazies, I want to bring this lunatic up again.
Nice transition into that, Grant, Mike. About
because I mean today
I get a hockey assist for that.
Yeah, you got an assist here. Well, you're gonna get the goal too, because you guys. I'm just setting it up. I'm getting you passed it to me. I'm passing it back to you.
You're gonna get the hockey assist. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the assist. Exactly. You're gonna. So, anyways, Grant Smith Ellis basically saying crazy stuff. Not just him. Wendy Coffindaffer, a bunch of other goons too. Basically, Aiden's in the court looking at his phone. He didn't have his computer, so he was doing his work like everybody else. There was another guy, the guy you talked about, the guy that bought real estate with Wendy. He's got his phone up in the same picture. They didn't accuse him of it. They accused Aiden of taking pictures of the jurors. Here's Stu O'Connell from NBC standing right behind them. And all these other reporters standing right behind Aiden. None of these goons. Grant, not much of a report. He didn't reach out to Sue O'Connell.
So we know he's not there because he's banned from the courtroom for his, you know, alleged assault and harassment of a female reporter. But reports are surfacing. What does that mean? That this other guy called him and said, oh my God, I see Carney with a phone. And then you have to have a real sober journalist say, this is stupid. I mean, this is so childish. This is not journalism. And he's a joke and ought to be just ignored and shunned and just swatted away. I mean, this is pathetic.
And they won't retract it. That's how you know how bad they are. Like, everyone makes a mistake. I think I've retracted one thing out of like 100 million stories I wrote for Dig Boston. If you make a mistake, you admit to it, you apologize, move on. I don't see them retracting any of this.
You know what? I don't think he's worth more than the 10 seconds we've given him.
Yeah, I agree. Maz, you got any comment on it?
Yeah, he's just backed up to his old tricks. He's obsessed with Turtle Boy and trying to make a controversy out of nothing all the time. And this guy just manifests them. Even some of the people on the other side of the aisle here are now kind of at war with this man and kind of
But not,
feeling the.
I put his up because it was easy. It was right there. Sue responded, but it wasn't just him either. I want to say Coffin Daffer. Like, she's not going to apologize. She's even more dangerous than Grant in some ways because she has such a big following.
Well,
Yeah,
she's
she trespasses on people's property. She jaywalks. She almost causes car accidents. It appears when she goes for walks. Yeah, she is dangerous, and she's just out there throwing around her FBI card when I don't know. We don't even know what she even did for them, and she's just out there all the time trying to talk up this big game and going on shows and saying this, and that about what's gone on here. And she's just annoying.
Well, that's why her and Wendy are more dangerous because they have the appearance of credibility.
Correct. Yeah.
Their past credentials. And so people, want to credit that as saying, well, they must know what they're talking about. Where Grant is, the guy calls himself a towel, so nothing else need be said.
Exactly. All right, perfect. We're at 9:45. I mean, we could wrap it up a little bit early tonight. What do you guys think?
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm here.
So you must have some final thoughts or things that we didn't talk about tonight. Let's go to Mazza Media.
Well, like I said, Adam Lally is just getting really annoying. It's, he's been annoying for a long time. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The ceiling fan inside of that courtroom is more entertaining and has more personality than Adam Lally. Auntie Bev, of all people, is literally ready to throw a tomato at this guy multiple times a day because he will not speak up in court. And he doesn't, his whole argument is just basically what the typical narrative is, which is the cover-up narrative, which is just basically Karen hit him. Here's why. He talks to these people he has on the stand. You're a professional, right? You've been doing this for how long? Oh, okay, so you have a pretty, you're a pretty legitimate person to be. It's just he's trying to make these simple qualifications of people he has on a stand to verify that, well, these people are professionals, these people know what they're talking about, and they can't possibly make any kind of case to prove Karen's innocence. And within that, is just this ultimate, when you go back to Ashley Villier, getting a shirt over a month after it's left the crime scene, it's in the possession of Michael Proctor, and you have these people that are professionals that, okay, you're examining it, and you can confirm this, you can confirm that, right? And he thinks he's making some kind of a point, and then the defense gets back up there and says, well, why was this? They'll get up there and probably say that. Why was the shirt, not turned in a long time? And just among other things, you have a piece of hair that was on this vehicle that somehow withstood weather like we've never seen before, and then it only moves a little bit on the vehicle. It's just things like this, and Adam Lally tries to make these people look credible, but the thing is, even if their results and examinations of that evidence are credible, it does not mean that that evidence wasn't tampered with. And I think that's what Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, and Elizabeth Little have been doing a great job of through this trial, which is refuting Adam Lally when he tries to make those simple cases that, well, these people are legitimate and what they found and what their findings that they came up with are accurate. Well, whether they are or they are not, you have to look at the quality of evidence that was submitted. Well, how about this piece of taillight? This piece of taillight. Adam Lally reminds me of Kurt Fuller in the movie Scary Movie, where he's asking Anna Faris to look at pictures of him in his underwear, and he's like, "How about this one? No. And how about this one? No. And just this one more time? No, no. Okay, thank you." That's what he is basically like. How about this piece of taillight? And this piece of taillight? And that piece of taillight? And someone said it, I think, in the comments. It might have even been on your channel when you were streaming this, Mike, yesterday or today. Why not just show all the pictures of the taillight at once and just get to the mother effing bleeping point, and we can all just move on with our lives? Okay, and he just goes on and on.
In the real world, what most prosecutors and lawyers do when you have 20 pictures, you show them to the witness and at once, admit them at once, and just have them go one by one and let them do it. Tell us what's in each picture. You don't need to preface each question. Miss Gilman, can you give me slide this? Miss Gilman, can you get? I mean, he adds so much filler junk time that adds all this time with these with his very robotic presentation and buzzwords, and it's at times unbearable to watch.
Oh,
and
it's
I can
horrible.
only imagine what the jury must think.
He's taken a trial that could have been done top to bottom by now, and probably going
Both
back to
sides.
3 weeks ago, but like Mike just said, both sides. And he's just elongated this whole process. He has people on the stand for longer than they should. I mean, you want to call all these people on the stand, fine, but ask them your 2 to 4 top questions. Get them on the stand, ask them these key questions, and let's let the defense ask their questions, and let's just all move on with our lives. Karen and her family have had to drag themselves to court day after day after day because of Adam Lally and how much he elongates this whole process. This is a case that should have been thrown out dating back to the hearing. And we are all, everyone that's outside every day, everyone that's going inside the court supporting Karen, we're having to get up and go every single day. And that's very honorable. And from Karen's family to everyone that supports Karen, you people are amazing. But Adam Lally is making this thing go on way longer than it should. And Karen has had to deal with this now for over 2 years. And she knows, and we all know, she is factually innocent. It's not a debate. It's not up for dispute. She is factually innocent, 1,000,000%. And just nobody can convince me anything otherwise about this. And it's just, this drags on and drags on and drags on. This case should have been thrown out before it ever hit trial to begin with. You even had Joshua Levy basically tell the judge and tell them, hey, look, this is what we got going on. You might want to just whatever. And they just ignored it. They continued on with the trial. And, we got to continue going through this whole process. And what's going to end up happening is when this thing gets over, when this thing's finally over, when the clock strikes 2025 in January, and I'm being sarcastic, the jury's going to say Karen Reed's innocent. And then what's going to happen, and you've heard it here first, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, they are going to accuse Turtle Boy and this entire movement of tainting the jury. And I'm telling you right now, every single person on the other side of this thing, that is all you're going to hear. They're not going to accept the outcome. They are so under the belief and hypnotized by the fact that they think Karen did this, that when that jury says not guilty and we're all celebrating, they're going to go off on this tangent. Oh, tainted the jury. That's the built-in excuse. It's been ready-made for months. They've been trying to accuse Aiden of that going back months and months and months now. And again, it's an absolute travesty that Karen has had to go through all this. And this starts with the cover-up and the framing. And to make matters even worse, the fact that this trial continues to drag on and on and on and on and on. And Karen's an extremely tough woman. They try to make it seem like she went into a rage and backed her vehicle up, but I've seen nothing but a mentally competent and strong-willed and poised individual through this entire case. There are so many people that if they were placed in this particular situation, they'd be visibly melting down. But Karen shows confidence and poise and swagger and focus and intelligence throughout this entire thing. And she's so commendable. And you have to appreciate that. And I think beyond everyone knowing that she's innocent, I think that many people in this movement admire her just because of the way that she's carried herself, and her family have carried themselves. Her parents, wonderful people. Her brother, wonderful person. I haven't met Kelly yet. I can already tell, wonderful person.
She's
her
nice.
friend, wonderful people. And they all carry themselves with such confidence. And people that are guilty of a crime, they don't have the poise and confidence that Karen does. The people around her don't have the poise and confidence that you see out of this family. People that are guilty, there's it's like some of the people that have been called as witnesses by Adam Lally so far, that are people that are trying to get Karen thrown in jail, but they seem like they're the ones that are on trial for their lives. So I'll just say that they tend to look like that, and I'll rest there.
There's a comment that keeps coming up about were Karen's rights violated when they didn't read her Miranda rights.
So that's an interesting question. The answer is no, not on that. There may be other issues where they violated her rights, but so Miranda only applies if somebody is in custody and subjected to interrogation. She clearly was interrogated, but when you're sitting on your couch in your own apartment and the cops are there just asking questions, that's not custody. I mean, technically, the definition of custody is that a reasonable person would not believe they're free to leave. And so Miranda would be a non-starter for her in this. But the interesting legal question is, I believe, and I think I even wrote it down. What this guy said today was that something along the lines of that your phone and vehicle are going to be seized. I think were his words. If that's the way that went down and they don't have search warrants, that's totally illegal. Like that's a ground ball, open and shut. They had no basis at that point to do that unless they had a warrant. But presumably, if they had a warrant, they would have said they had a warrant. So I don't know whether that's new information or whether he's changed his story or Proctor told a different story, whether the defense previously had moved to suppress, anything that they tried to get on her phone. I mean, what's really interesting is this. I think Bukhenik really put Proctor in the box today with this, because we know that Proctor illegally searched the phone, told people he was illegally searching the phone, looking for nudes, wishing she was dead. We've been over all that before. And according to his supervisor / partner, he basically bullied her and said, "Give me the phone. I'm taking the phone." And what's missing there is the warrant, A, to seize the phone, and B, the same warrant adding permission or another warrant to search the phone.
Search it, yeah.
You need two permissions there. You need the right to seize it and the right to search it. And according to, Tweedledum and Tweedledum here, one of them basically said, "I'm taking it," and the other one said, "I'm just going to look through it." So
what a team, what a tag team they are.
That's going to be something else on cross. And really, if there is Proctor here who's going to testify, Bukhenik did him no favors. And I don't know the answer to this, but I'd be really curious to know what the prior testimony or explanation was about how they got Karen Reed's cell phone, whether Proctor said, "I asked for it and she agreed," because that's not what Bukhenik said. He said,
I love that you're now calling Bukhenik.
Hey, listen.
Bukhenik hits the fan tomorrow.
Bukhenik.
It's hard. It's hard.
I know.
Well, according to Julie,
you know what? Julie
calls
him Bukhenik too.
It was Bukhenik, right? According to Julie said.
I'm just going with the McAlbert's lead.
Started it, right? I mean, how do you not finish that? But all kidding aside, the testimony today was, "I'm just taking your phone and car," and I really wonder whether that's the previous evidence in the case, and if not, they potentially could get clobbered on that.
Here's a question: Did you find it odd that after Yuri and Proctor met at Kitten PD, their first stop was the McCabe's, not 34 Fairview?
Of course. I mean, you're investigating a suspicious death. The suspicious death was at 34 Fairview Road. I guess we know Proctor had no problem searching the place because he searched it 30 times. Why would you want to start with the McCabe's? Is that because Jennifer McCabe had the epiphany, as we know, after she huddled up with her larger family and decided that maybe I hit him? So do they want to follow up on that? But yeah, I think that's a little odd, especially given that these guys have a terrible track record. Again, they voucher property, not really. They don't do searches properly. They don't account for where they're going or what they're doing. But the first thing they wanted to do was run over to talk to Jennifer McCabe, who is a mess in this case, as you know. So, I think that kind of plays into the defense hands a little bit too. Sure.
Got a lot of comments. Here's something from Olivia. She says, "I don't believe they had a search warrant for Karen Reed's phone per David Yannetti. Not sure about the car. They may have seized car under extinction."
No. Exigent circumstances is an exception to a Fourth Amendment requirement of getting a search warrant or whatever. An exigent circumstance is, somebody's life is at stake. And if you don't take action right now, by the time you get a warrant, they could be dead. Exigent circumstances means really exigent. A car sitting in a driveway unattended is not an exigent circumstance. What real cops would do is, number one, you could seek consent can we take it? And if she says yes, problem solved, done. If not, you could have the cops kind of sit on the car. I don't mean literally sit on it, but like so it doesn't leave. Go get someone to get a warrant and then come back with a warrant and take it. So there's no exigency there. I mean, John O'Keefe was dead. There's nothing to suggest that they were going to lose the evidence in that situation. So no, this is really interesting. If they did not have a warrant for the car or the phone, this is messy. And I'd like to think that this had to have come up in the pretrial motions and suppression hearings and whatnot. And I really wonder if this is a new story, that because they're using the different witness, they're getting a different story because they haven't synchronized.
Excellent. A lot of people in the chat tonight. What do you got right now? 4,800 on YouTube alone. Pretty amazing.
So the statement's good. The evidence they seized, based on what Bukhenik said, no good. That's
good.
The answer. Yeah. But it was a strange interview, right? He didn't really ask her anything other than, where were you? I mean, look, put it this way. They were there, and while they were there, the tow company was already on the way to take the car. So we know that they had suspicions about her at that point, right? Yet, according to this guy, we never even asked her about anything about what you might have done, or like, why don't you come out with us and look at the car? Can you explain this to us? It doesn't make any sense to me.
What do you expect tomorrow?
Well, I don't know how much more direct they'll have of this guy, but I would expect that whoever's going to cross him, which one of these two lawyers is going to do it, is going to really remind the jury at every opportunity that you're not Proctor and we're getting you. And I want to know what you did. I want to know what Proctor did. I want to know when you were together. I want to know when you were separate. I want to know if you saw him recover the glass, what you were doing at the time, and were you present when, you kept saying, we asked her if we could take the phone, or we're going to take. Who said it? Stop saying we. Who did what? I wouldn't have let him get away with that today, actually. He keeps saying we did this. No, we want to know what you did and what he did. You're trying to kind of merge them into one.
Yeah, it's a team, he said. He said it's a team.
Not good enough. And I would look, these guys know what they're doing, obviously. And I would think that they're just going to, every chance they get, remind the jury that you're selling us a bill of goods, giving us this guy instead of Proctor. And I would even ask, like, do you know where Proctor is? And let him object. Is he healthy? Is he around? When's the last time you talked to him? And let her sustain the objection. Who cares? The jury should know that this guy is able to testify and he's not. And, look, if there's something we don't know, like he's already given an indication that he's going to assert the fifth, then you may not hear the stuff that I just talked about, but you can still break down who did what, and that Proctor is the key witness, and the jury will still recognize he's not there.
Great comment right here about talking about how they didn't have enough to go into 34 Fairview, but they had all the reasons a few hours later to seize Karen's car and cell phone.
It's a good point.
Think the jury will notice that?
No, only because they're not. I mean, I know there's a couple lawyers there. I don't know what kind of lawyers they are, but I don't think the jury is thinking about the Fourth Amendment and criminal procedure. I mean, again, we'll see what the defense tries to do with this, but the idea that the cops claim they really couldn't even talk to the Alberts and whoever was there because we had no right to do that. I think it's fair to say that you could cross-examine both, well, whether it's Proctor and Yuri or one of them about, well, you had no problem going to her, and you recognize that even though you didn't have a warrant, you had a right to go in there and ask her questions, and she welcomed you in. And then in summation, contrast with the Canton guys who are, part of this incestuous community of Alberts and cops in town, to say that what they told you was, oh, no warrant, no dice, we're out of here. And draw that contrast that when it came to Karen Reed, they had no problem doing it and just taking her stuff. But when it came to the Alberts, no warrants, we're out of here. Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Excellent. There's another one question. Why didn't Yuri ask Karen what happened to her taillight?
He should have. This is what I was just saying a few minutes ago. It makes no sense. They went there knowing before they went there that we're towing her car. In other words, she's the suspect. They think they know what she did, or they're going to eventually look into this. And you're going there to talk to her. Well, what the hell are you going there to talk to her about?
Yeah.
I understand she says, well, I was drinking, or we were out, and that's that. But it makes no sense that you would not say, can you just come outside with us? I just want to look at your car. And, I notice your tail light is missing. What happened? None of this makes any sense. So whether it's incompetent, whether they didn't want to bring her out to the tail light because they knew she would say, what are you talking about? It looks fine, mostly. Or, I hit his, or who knows. It's a red flag. And when they try to sound like they're really competent and they know what they're doing, and this guy sounded generally efficient in his manner, he failed the obvious test of, if you're going to interview her and she's clearly willing to talk, why not get a statement that actually matters? And they didn't, apparently.
Absolutely. Question was, it's only a half day tomorrow. Yes, it is. It's only a half day tomorrow. This will be the last day of the week. I don't know what the schedule is next week. Hopefully it's a full week, but this is it tomorrow. Half day. That's it. Mazda, do you have any comments?
No, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to one of our favorite friends on YouTube that made a visit to Massachusetts today, the Glare. Awesome that he's here. No one expected it. I got it on a good word that he kept it a secret, and I'm just happy that he got to make it out. He's put a lot of time into this, and he had a chance. We all anticipated him coming out here, and I'm just happy for him that he was able to make the trip up and meet some of the folks in person. I know he lives down in the Tennessee area, so just wanted to give a nice shout out to the Glare. He's done a great job, and just he's just been awesome. He's done a fantastic job. He's just been one of the great YouTube people that have just been pushing for Karen Reed's freedom and constantly just backing Turtle Boy through everything he went through last winter, and just it's awesome that he's here. I might try to meet up with him or something. I don't know. We'll find out.
I want to smoke him up. I want to smoke him up. And it was great to see him in a suit jacket. With like the first time I haven't seen his pipes. He's got the pipes.
Yeah, right.
I'm used to seeing his pipes. And to see him with no hat on, with a suit jacket was pretty funny. It was like, wow, there he is sitting next to Karen Reed.
He looks like an action movie star.
He looked like Vin Diesel.
Yeah,
like,
he does.
He cleans up well. I was like, wow, here he is. Look at him right up front row. I love the Galera. Thank you, Will, for coming out. It was awesome. Yep. So I guess someone said he's handsome. All the girls like him too. They all love the Galera. They want some Will. He's very tall. I figured he would be. Is he wicked tall? They all want to know now. Yeah, I guess, we can call it a kind of earlier night. We don't have to go 2 to 3 hours like we always do, right?
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, I had a big day, so like I said, I got done work and I was out and about for an hour. I got home like 10 minutes. I literally left the house 10 minutes after I got done work, and then basically, I'm 6'5". I might have the height on Glare. We'll see. So no, I got back time for the show 10 minutes before, and I had a good night, but I had a great night on this show, and this movement's just awesome. I think it's maybe good to take a moment. We always do, but just to thank everyone that tunes into a show like this and participates. And we're all just such a great part of, this Karen Reed movement, and Attorney Mark Bederow. Just every time you're on this show, you've brought that legal insight that is really a huge thing for us to have as a movement. Anytime we have someone like yourself, Attorney Melanie Little, we got Sean McDonough, former DEA agent, just people with like real experience in these types of legal fields, whether it's from law enforcement to the courtroom. It just brings a great thing for this movement, and it's just great because a lot of times a lot of us have theories, but a lot of us don't have that courtroom experience like you do, Mark. And it's great to hear your opinions and your thoughts when you can kind of validate a lot of things that we believe, and it's always great to hear that. So I appreciate this movement, but Mark, I also want to give you a shout out as well.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll validate it. This is a grade A shit show.
In his expert opinion.
Yeah, and look who the
my
other
expert opinion, right?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, this is, as a trial exercise, this is just embarrassing.
You know what's great about it too is like looking at the other side. Who they have? They have Kevin. I mean, who do they have?
Yeah.
They definitely don't have a Bederow.
Olivia goes, "You crack me up, Mazza, when you say this is a movement." Yeah, I always call it the movement. I always like to use that term, a movement. It's a movement for, we're all just kind of moving together to, help Karen. We love Karen. We know she's innocent, so I
Well,
like that term. Yeah.
I think there's also a bigger picture. I mean, obviously, any one defendant who's in the dock is living the nightmare. But I mean, the bigger question is, what the hell is going on in Norfolk County? I mean, this is scary stuff, that this DA's office is this dense and or corrupt or whatever, or it doesn't recognize all the flaws and is just willing to shrug their shoulders and say it's what we do. So let's go to trial and we'll win or lose. Who cares? And what's for dinner when it's all over? That's scary. And they're not apparently concerned with the conduct of either the Canton police, the state police, the people in the DA's office, and they just appear to completely not care and look at this as just another day in the life of being, a bureaucratic hack. And it's scary. And they, as the DA himself has made ridiculous public statements that are so unfair to somebody who's facing potentially life in prison. He's never corrected other statements which were made, which are so prejudicial to someone who's a defendant. And it's amazing. They don't care, but apparently the U.S. attorney does. And their response, I can understand it. If I was under investigation, I'd be worried too. But that office's response was apparently to go whine to Main Justice in DC and say, get these people off our back. And, Main Justice response was, yeah, they're fine. Thank you. We don't need to tell them.
We don't agree. Yeah.
So when this is all over, I think you're going to see it's going to get ugly, because I think, again, they don't prosecute murder. They don't investigate murder. I know there's a murder that's mixed up in this, but they're going to be looking at prosecutors, cops, possibly Alberts and Higgins type people with phones and whatnot. But I would think that people in the DA's office are going to be at least part of what they're looking at and get summoned down there and potentially asked to give formal statements and whatnot. And, this gets real messy, and then they're going to get sued for sure when this is all over. So there's going to be a lot of litigation when this is all over. This is not going to end for these people that are bringing this case when there's an acquittal. It's going to go on and on.
It's going to be interesting if it does go federal, though, because there'll be no cameras then. So people are going to have to really show up to the courthouses to see what happens here.
No, but it won't be a closet courtroom. If that,
Yeah.
look.
Yeah, it'll be big. Everyone will be able to go.
Let's also, in all fairness, just because the feds look into something, that does not mean that it results in formal proceedings or anything. I mean, I think you have to manage expectations and not just assume because they're sniffing around that, 27 people are going to get from this case are going to get indicted. That's not necessarily how it works, but they're certainly sniffing around, it would appear.
So we'll be watching tomorrow, 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Yuri will be back on the stand. Yuri Bukhenik. Bukaki, whatever you call him.
Tomato.
Tomato.
Yeah, no, it's
whatever you call him.
Whatever. Listen,
Meathead. Jarhead is another one people are using.
We'll see. I mean, a lot of these witnesses, they come off okay on direct, and you haven't seen Cross, and he hasn't even finished his direct. But the interesting thing, I mean, I know we said this in the beginning, but he must have been up there for 2 or 3 hours, but he didn't say anything. He really didn't. He just navigated through video, and I went to the hospital. This is my opinion of what he looked like. This is her drinking, but the video speaks for itself. I asked her a few questions. We towed the car. This is us at the Sally Port. He actually didn't offer anything original, and it's clear he's filler. You know, they're clearly trying to put him in place of the one that they don't want to do. And it will also be interesting to see if he's capable of being cross-examined about what some of these witnesses who, if you recall, all threw Proctor under the bus, like McCabe and some of these other ones who, you know, Proctor got it wrong, whether Yuri is going to be the proxy for Proctor and say, oh no, I remember that, and that statement is accurate, or is he going to be a weasel and say, well, I don't know, that was Proctor, and then there's no Proctor? That's a mess for the DA.
Excellent.
Anything Yuri passes on to Proctor is bad for them.
Done. Got to be interested to see how they go after them both tomorrow.
I would think pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
This is not a friendly one. And I would think, again, that stuff with the phone in the car, I wouldn't be surprised if they go hard at that, especially the phone, because the phone is like a real issue here for obvious reasons with what Proctor did.
It's going to be good. I can't wait till tomorrow. Hopefully, I mean, I wonder how much longer Lally's going to go tomorrow. How much more can he stretch this out, you think?
You know, if I'm him, you said tomorrow's a half day and that's the end of the week, I wouldn't do it long, because I would want them to finish this guy and not have him sitting on cross for 3 or 4 days. But, you know, you see how they do it. There's no rhyme or reason to anything. And you should just assume the worst, that it's just going to be what if anything on this day. And who knows? I mean, that's, you know, they suck the life out of you, right? At this point, you're like, I don't know. Don't know, don't care. Just get it over with and let's move on. They are sucking the life out of everyone watching.
Yep. And Bukhenik was pretty cocky today. I mean, his stance, the way he sits with his arm.
He's very arrogant, very arrogant, and his looking at them, and one of the things saying, oh, I was just talking to her like the way I'm talking to you. And I mean, whatever. He's an arrogant cop. You know, I think that's not exactly a shock given what this case is all about. And
I'm a Barstool Sports bro.
Who these guys are. But
hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave. What's going on, Dave? What's going on, man?
Let's see how confident he is
tomorrow, right?
When he's getting clobbered on numerous topics, whether it's related to Proctor or not. And, you know, I think Olivia just put a note up there, and I agree with her. When the cross is done, it won't be in order. I mean, what most lawyers do, the good ones anyway, they bounce around, because it's much harder when you're making stuff up to keep it straight when it's not straight chronological. One of the things I noticed about him today was that he was extraordinarily rehearsed. Okay.
Yeah.
He
Jennifer McCabe level rehearsed.
He didn't need reports. He was good with that, but it was really canned with what he was doing. And especially when he was talking about the interview of Karen, it was really canned and prepared. And when he's getting clobbered left and right by one of these lawyers and this and that, I think you'll see what's going on. And, you know, they're not going to be comfortable, because, you know, if he was with Proctor when he recovered all that evidence, I mean, how do you explain that and not look like a tool, right? I mean, we had to go there 5 days in a row, and each day, we recovered one piece of glass and said, let's go to lunch. That's enough for today. We'll come back tomorrow and get the rest. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes zero sense. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And anything else that you want to share before we wrap it up again? I've asked this a couple of times, but
every time you do that, tax on 15 more minutes to the show, Mike.
It's okay. 10:17. We could go to 10:30.
We're good. We're good.
The people don't want to let us go, though. They keep asking new questions.
Hey, if people want the show, they get the show. Yeah, 10:30 is good.
15 minutes. All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Now they want to talk about the Celtics again. That's when I'll fall asleep. I'm the Debbie Downer about the Celtics.
Yeah, the Celtics are going to it's going to be 4 or 5 games, and that's about it. Especially with Porzingis out there, it's going to be an absolute. I just don't think that the Mavericks have the experience and depth to deal with. And the Celtics, here's the thing: when teams lose a championship and then they get back in there, a lot of times they're they're really determined to go all out and win this thing. And they have guys like Drew Holiday that have been there before. And realistically, on the Mavs, the only notable player they have that's been to the finals before and won at one time is Kyrie Irving. And I just don't think, and I'll say this before and I'll say it again. The Celtics have the players that can contain and contest their top two players. The Mavericks do not have players that can contend and contest against our two best players. We have our top six players. They have two. I mean, even if you want to say, like a lot of Mavs fans want to say, Luka and Kyrie are the two best players in the series, fine, you can make that argument if you want. But then the next six best players in the series are all in the Boston Celtics.
The depth. It's a depth thing. I agree. I agree.
They're going to have a tough time, especially against Derek White and Drew Holiday. They'll probably still score over 25 points. But the thing is they're going to need to score 40 apiece in the series, and that ain't happening. And I think Tatum and Brown are basically going to lay the smack down on the Mavericks, and they got what it takes to do it. There's no excuse for Celtics losing at all.
Everything changed when Derek White became bald Derek White. The whole mojo changed. Everything.
It's true.
Everything.
But hopefully they're going to pull this out, because it's going to be really annoying if they don't.
If they lose it.
Luka got crossed up by someone. Our buddy Rick here says Luka's miles better than anybody on the Celtics. Well, either way, Jaylen Brown crossed him up so bad a year or two ago. He fell on the ground. It was hilarious.
That was this year. That was this year.
Was it this year? Okay, it was this year.
He broke Luka's ankles. Yeah.
When he had the orange sneakers on. Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. Shout out to Kelly reading the comments. Kelly, you're the best. We love you.
Thank you, Kelly. Yes. Dreamer Thinker wants Mark to say Bukhenik again.
Bukaki? Bukhenik.
When I say Bukhenik, you say.
By the way, is that video of him real, where he just has to lose the shirt and go?
Oh crazy? Yeah, he's doing
it is real.
The dance with the shirt. Oh my god, that was pretty. Yeah.
Oh
jeez, dude.
You can't make this up. But okay, all right. I guess even he's allowed to have a good time from now and then.
Yeah, and he knew the license plate right away of he had that memorized. You notice that?
Yes, I think he was prepared, as his testimony sounded to me as if he was studying for a test, which also tells me that they've known for a long time that he's going to be the anchor man, not Proctor. So I think this has been something the DA has known. And now when you look at hindsight about the conversation they had in the pretrial hearing about Proctor's internal affairs investigation coming up, and the judge said, well, what if he doesn't testify? Does that mean that there was discussion about it then? Maybe. But, I'm not surprised, but I think that the defense, if there's not a Fifth Amendment issue, they have to call him. I would be shocked if they didn't.
Yeah. And you think they're probably going to, oh, sorry, Mike, may I go?
Yeah.
Do you think
I was just going to say, I think they're just going to repeat tomorrow. Proctor, right? I mean, that's all we're going to hear tomorrow. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but that's from the defense standpoint. You have to, because especially if he ultimately takes the fifth and the jury's not going to be told, you want to make them wonder, where is he? Why are we not getting this guy? And you just have to keep doing it.
Yep, and you got to take, they really are going to take it to Yuri from a defense standpoint with the questions, with the consideration that maybe he will not be on that stand, and just go, just basically take it to him. And, they have, I mean, the way they took it to Brian Albert and Jen McCabe and a few others, Colin Albert, they really, really, really just pinned them down in that stand and just really went after them with questions. And they got to, and the same thing with Yuri. This is a key guy here and a key player that's really stepped outside his bounds. This is an officer that went into a home in Holden to arrest an award-winning journalist simply for reporting on this case and telling the facts that they just didn't want to come out. It's very disgraceful. It's very unbecoming. And this man was as we know, Turtle Boy was falsely arrested. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And just the things he's done to certain people in this movement by visiting their homes, trying to get after them for talking to a particular officer's wife on Facebook and not appreciating those messages that they sent, and it just the things that this man has done are just not very well received or becoming of a man that represents the Massachusetts State Police. And this is why people in this state have the concern they do, because this is the level of intimidation that they're going around and doing by basically trying to intimidate people in the Free Karen Read movement from exercising their First Amendment rights. And it's been absolutely ridiculous. And it's just top to bottom. All that's done is really validate what everybody's always said from the beginning, that Karen Read has been framed. The powers that be have put this fix in on her. And look what happened when people in this movement started to lash out at people involved with the players that were involved with this cover up. And they just basically lashed out at them. They threw Aidan Carney in jail. And they found any way they could to do it. And it was one of the most sickening moments, but also one of the most validating moments in this entire story, because it validated the fact that if they can do that to Turtle Boy, then they certainly are doing it to Karen Read. And all it did was basically say, well, you basically just admitted to us in plain sight that you framed Karen Read and you screwed her over, and you're trying to get her thrown in prison and trying to pawn this off on her when she's an extremely innocent woman. And it's just this is when people in our society, like everyone that's joining this show, everyone that's tuning into this show, everyone that's watching other programs, that's in part of certain groups, this is why so many people are invested in this story, because it makes them sick. And it's like everyone says, and I think Olivia said it in the comments, it could be you. It
Could
could
be
be you. If they
anybody.
can do it to Karen, they can do it to Turtle Boy, they can come after you too. And this is when it's up to us as people, as Americans, as Massachusetts citizens, to take a stand and say, we're not going down quietly. And anybody you do go after, the Canton Nine, anybody, we're going to back them up 1000%. And you're seeing that here. The numbers are on our side, and they're only growing. They've only grown since this trial has
Oh
begun.
yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, we Sean McDonough and myself, we just broke 20,000 today on our
Congratulations, Mike.
channel. So I mean, that's amazing. And now looks like we got a new political campaign maybe going
Right.
here. He's just
Oh,
Larry
thank
said he's starting a PAC with the New York State Board of Elections called Draft Mark Bederow for governor. Sorry, Hochul. Are you a Democrat, Mark? Or you don't
No.
want to say?
No
No.
comment. You don't
No
recall.
comment?
You don't recall.
I
You
don't know,
recall.
but if elected, I will not serve. I can tell you that.
You will
No,
not. I was going to say, would you even serve?
absolutely not.
No.
Nice
No.
dodge of the political party answer on
He
that,
just
Mark.
said no. That's a no. That is a pretty strong
okay.
no.
Yeah.
It's like me. I'm
I
not
didn't
doing
really
it.
say anything.
Yeah.
Last time we started talking about the Trump case, I got in trouble. I'm not talking about it.
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, I know. People got mad at me too.
That's all right.
Some of the comments I got. I'm done with the politics.
Yeah.
I got you. I brought us out of that. I'm like, well, what's so great about this movement, I said, was that everybody from multiple parties can all support Karen Read. I basically, I kind of zipped that up for us nicely.
I'm independent, by the way, people. Don't get mad at me. I'm independent. Unenrolled. I'm not with either party. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a nice compliment. They said, Michael, you are just the perfect host. Am I? I don't think I am. But I like the Michael sentiment. That's what Sean on the Gulf calls me. That's what my mother calls me too. So there you go. So my girlfriend calls me when she's mad at me. So it can be a term of endearment, or it can be a term of you're dead meat. Here's another one. They said, don't forget to ask Mark my question from earlier.
What's the question?
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's only like 72 of them to go through. You should have just asked me it again, Stacey. I don't know. It's probably one we already answered too. Like that's the thing.
I found it. Oh, never mind. I thought I found it, but it was the new one. No, I found the new one. I went down to the bottom, and it was the new one. I'll see if I
I'm
can track it
looking.
down.
I don't see it. I mean, there's 70 something of them.
Yeah.
And who knows if we already asked it, because we've asked a lot of questions.
May not have been super chatted either, perhaps, right? Because I'm not seeing it
I don't
here.
know.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it. I wish you had put it in your super chat, Stacey. We didn't see it. Thank you so much for being here tonight, guys. I would say it again. Is there anything else? But I think we covered that. Didn't
Free
we?
Karen Read, and just everyone continue to, hopefully everyone's enjoying their popcorn from Double Good Popcorn. I know I went through all 4 of my bags in about 2 days, but then it was misshipped. My popcorn was misshipped to my neighbor, so I'd like go over there and like be like, "Can I get my popcorn, please?"
Was that you or them?
them. They shipped it over to their house next door instead of mine, so I had to go over there and knock on the door and get the popcorn.
You got the popcorn. Good
Got
for
the
you.
popcorn. Oh yeah.
Excellent. So check you out, Mazza Media on Twitter, X,
Yep.
and YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel too.
Yep.
And we got Bederow Law. You can check out his website, bederowlaw.com, or Bederow Law on X or Twitter. I feel like I'm forgetting something too. I don't know. Am I forgetting something? No, I'm not. Oh, actually, I want to ask Bederow one last question.
Yeah.
You are the Survivor show again last night with Peter Ellikin and another attorney. How did that go last night?
I liked it. I like Peter Elkin a lot. Apparently he's a very highly regarded Boston attorney. The other one, I think Catherine Loftus, I believe.
Yes.
Has I forget what the name.
Note my ejection, I believe it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So she was a former prosecutor. It was fine. For what it's worth, Peter, maybe with a little less fire and bluntness than, I'm kind of pretty blunt in what I think, but he definitely agreed that there's just reasonable doubt all over the place. So that's just another, very intelligent attorney who agrees. Catherine, I think, was a little more maybe in the middle, recognized some issues, but I don't think she was as clear about her feelings, but that's fine. But no, the show is fine. You get all types that comment in that one. It's kind of more of a free for all, which is fine. But I think it's I enjoy those kind of things, and it's nice to have other lawyers to let them throw ideas around and see what people think. So I thought it was fine. Somebody had asked a question last night that or was accusing Karen Reed of being with Turtle Boy and, this harassing witnesses. And the question was posed. I forget who it was posed to. I think it was posed to Catherine, but I actually tried to jump in on that and explain why that was an unfair supposition. One, no one's been charged, certainly not from her angle, charged with that, but also that if you do have some kind of PR apparatus, that there's nothing wrong with that. In particular, when in this particular case, you had the false stories about there's a Ring video of her mowing him down. That's terrible. You had the Morrissey press conference, which is outrageous, defending all of these people and making all kinds of unethical statements that, you have a right to push back when you're getting maligned publicly and being prejudiced. So really, to me, that's all the district attorney's fault. And to this day, as I said last night, they've never apologized or corrected the record. And that's disgraceful, because if you do want to try someone, you have to try them fairly and in a courtroom, not by giving whiny press conferences designed to prejudice a defendant or allowing false information that could also prejudice a defendant. So that was an interesting point. There was something else too that I forgot we didn't address that I was going to, but I can't remember.
I'm just looking to see if I could find the question from Stacy that we have on the screen, because I get a lot of people sending me private messages during the day and saying, ask this question, ask this one. I think it's one of those.
Yeah.
But it's like, come on, guys. I can't. They have to realize how much I work. I can't keep up with it. I can't. You know how many questions we get when we're on air with you guys? It just goes on and on and on. I just looked at my Facebook Messenger. I have like 25 new messages.
Quote Daniel Russo in the Karate Kid 3. It's Karate Kid 2 when he's signing autographs at the beginning of the movie. It's the price of fame, Mr. Miyagi.
Oh, it's the price of the show. They all want to ask a question. They all want their question answered. I mean, 72 super chats tonight. It's out of control.
Somebody's asking about the boxers. Maybe that was what it was.
Yeah. What about the boxers? You want to talk about the boxers? I don't know.
I thought it was weird that they had 3 pieces of evidence and only really wanted to introduce 2. I don't know if that relates to the vomit that we've heard about. I mean, and that's not the most pleasant thing to talk about, but that doesn't make sense if you accept the car accident thing. How do you throw up through your pants and all of that? So I don't know why they didn't introduce. They had them. Why didn't they move them in? I don't know. That to me was weird, because you have them, you have the witness talking about them, and then you say, never mind that, we'll just do the other two. And that's something I would follow up on. And if they are covered in vomit, I don't know how you're going to prove that at this point. I don't know who the witness would be, but I thought it was weird. Just, you have the clothes, here they are, but they left that out. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens tomorrow with Yuri on the stand. It's going to be very interesting tomorrow.
Bukhenik, right? Is that how you say Bukhenik?
Bukhenik.
No, you're
Yeah.
saying it right, Mark. You've been saying it right the whole show.
Yeah, Bukhenik.
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 I saw a mashup video, by the way, where, they have these lawyers who literally like YouTube stream the trials and just sit there in the corner and comment the whole time.
Yep.
And a lot of them just completely just lost their shit when that happened in real time. And it was kind of fun.
Yeah, it is funny. That
It was Julie
what's her
Alba,
name?
right?
The Aussie Insider. She does great mashups like of all that stuff. Have you seen her videos?
Some of them, I think.
Yeah, she's blowing up too. I love the Aussie Insider. People should follow that YouTube as well. There's so many good creators. We mentioned a couple of them tonight. The Glarer is another one, obviously.
They got the new one, the new Twitter page. That's the translator lady that has the mask over her face all trial.
Oh,
It's like a
yeah.
parody account. That
Yeah,
one.
you shared
one's-
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave her a big plug. She's funny. The
Yeah.
court reporter, Madam Court Reporter.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
funny.
That's actually very funny. No, I actually said everyone should, if you like the humor in any of this. I know
Follow
it's sick because it's such a horrible thing, but
Auntie Dev is hilarious. That guy does like the impressions. Is like, Mr. Lally, Mr. Lally.
well, you know how this happened. I made a comment the other day because I couldn't watch the other day when it was really bad, when he kept saying, Miss Gilman, can you show us this picture? And I just said, that's the hardest working person in this whole trial is Miss Gilman. And there was a reply from this Madam Court Reporter who commented, excuse you. I mean, it was funny. And then I'm like, is this a joke? And yeah, obviously. And it's a good page. It's worth following for sure.
Madam Court Reporter, yeah, that's fun. That's a hilarious page. The anti-dev video where the police sirens and emergency sirens start going off and interrupting the court, it's crazy. I was out there one day and I saw it happening. I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is just mad. They're all driving through the center of town. And I had it on good word from somebody that said they thought that they were doing it on purpose, especially early in the trial, because it seemed like when certain people are up there, woo, just all the sirens would just start firing up and everything. It's a busy.
They were doing it in which sense? To disrupt who?
I can't even recall now, but probably our side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for that. I know there was a message. I'm gonna let it go. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah,
I tried to find
doing it.
Stacy's message or question. I can't find it.
Maybe it was sent like a regular question, perhaps.
I don't know. I have too many social media accounts. I mean, there's too many messages too. Like too many people.
Right.
You know who I've been hearing a lot from in the last 24 hours since I had shown on like police officers. I'm dying to hear what they have to say because a couple of them have reached out.
I got a message sent to my email actually last week from an active duty police officer in Massachusetts, who of course I would never name, who was just aghast and appalled about all of this, and specifically the Canton police and Proctor and what a disgrace this is. Of course, I've talked to a lot of, NYPD type guys, mostly retired, who I know from my day. They're all appalled about this. I've yet to hear any police officer or detective I know who said this is all wonderful and the right thing and whatnot. The only real pro law enforcement I heard was on that STS thing where I think everyone was crushing that FBI agent, which I thought was a little harsh to be, who said, I talked to some guys and they told me she did it. So, not the best opinion in the world or the best source for having an opinion. But other than that, I haven't heard from one police officer or law enforcement who actually thinks that this was done right. And how could they? I mean, how could you justify an investigation where the central premise are, solo cups, leaf blowers, and things like that? I mean, it's just pathetic.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And you guys have got the Celtics games tomorrow. Are we doing another show tomorrow night?
It would have to be early if there
We'll
is.
do it early. Yeah, we'll do
the game
something
shouldn't
early.
start before 8:30. So
all right, so we'll do 6 to 7.
I turn into a pumpkin when it's like at least half hour before the game. It's
so is what time? 8:30? You think we'll be done by, or 8?
Yeah, the game. Well, the game probably won't start. It's saying 8:30, but usually that's just like the game doesn't start till 9:05, but they say 8:30. Yeah, so we got some time. Probably like
ending on the safe side earlier is better.
It'll be easier to prep for the show tomorrow too if we go earlier. Be like today, I needed extra time.
Oh yeah, that's right, because it'll be done earlier. So we probably do a 6:30.
Yeah, I was 2 hours behind at one point today. I had so many meetings, and then I got caught up like after work and everything. And like tomorrow's a half day, so if we go earlier, it won't be as hard to keep up with it.
Perfect. We'll do that then.
Yeah.
What do you think's better, 6 or 6:30? This is how we decide here.
Either or. I'm fine with Markin. You and Markin decide. That's fine.
Definitely get it over before
6. We'll do 6 then.
Okay.
We'll do 6. I got no conflicts tomorrow night. I don't have any dog stuff, so let's just do it. 6. I like 6.
All right, there we go.
All right, we'll be live tomorrow night at 6 p.m. and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
Free Karen Reed.
Thank you, free Karen Reed. All right, I'm going to read off a couple super chats. I want to thank everyone. Miss Shorty, she says, I create free Karen Reed shorts on my channel. Send them over. I don't know if you're on Twitter. You should definitely send them to me on Twitter. I'd like to see them. I would share them. Or hit me up on YouTube, I guess, after. I don't know how you even contact someone on YouTube, but I will definitely check those out. What am I looking for? Venmos. I'm tired. It's been a long week for me. Brian sent $10 on Venmo. He says, congrats on 20,000 subs. We love you, Mike. Thank you so much, Brian. I love you too. Thank you for donating tonight. Shauna sent $13. She says, free Karen Reed. Thank you so much, Shauna. That's Venmo contributions. I think so. Hold on one second here. I just want to check the Cash App. I go through this 100 times to find the Cash App. I don't know why. I'm super tired today. There it is. It's right next to the Venmo one, too. All right, let's go Cash App. Oh, Bonnie sent $20. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Luis sent $5. She said, for free Karen Reed. Thank you so much, Luis. And Mike G sent $10. He said, awesome show, Mike. Thank you so much, Mike G. And Caroline Forth sent $10. She said, for a great show as always, Mike. That was actually last night. Thank you so much, Caroline. And I want to make sure that we didn't miss any others. Hold on one second. Late last night, we also had some donations coming after the show. Deborah sent $20. She said, just watched last night's show. Thank you. Great job. Sean makes me laugh. Sean makes me laugh too. Sean is awesome. I love Sean. That was a good show last night. I think one thing we got to do too is Bederow and Sean on the golf. Sean McDonough, we got to get them two together on the show. I think that's definitely going to happen too. $10 from Cheryl last night too, as well. Late. She says, free Karen Reed. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much, Cheryl. And also Allison sent $5. She said, Karen Canton coverage. I love it. Thank you. Scott Coolidge said, great show tonight with Sean. He sent $10 last night as well. I think that's all of the ones I didn't get to read last night. So I think that's it. No more super chats came in, right? Hopefully. No. Someone did. JFK. JF Mike K, my boy. He said, motive is clear. John hopped out the truck pissed. Oh, JFK's got his own theory. I don't think his theory is what my theory is, but he's free to have that. And I'm going to try to get JFK on the show, actually. He's a great hip hop artist locally. He's known. People know him. You might have heard him on Shady 45, the Sirius internet station, the Eminem station. Might have heard his music on there. I've heard it. Hopefully have him coming up. He's got a new Celtic. He does these Celtics themes every year for the playoffs. I heard he's recording a new one, he told me, and I think there might be something in there about Karen Reed. I hope I'm not giving it away. I hope I'm not revealing anything that I'm not supposed to. But I'm excited to hear it. And I'm definitely going to be excited to have him on the show soon, too. I got a lot of guests I got to get on. I got a whole list of you. Looking forward to it. All right. I got to go. Have a great night, everyone. I love you all. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Have a great night, y'all. Bye.